Hello students, welcome to Learner's Planet. Let us continue with the chapter Control and Coordination. So these two processes, we are not now aware of these basic processes, and we know the importance that why they are so essentially required for our survival. There are different life processes which are maintaining our life, but they are taking place in a well systematic manner. Right? So that is possible because of the presence of the system in our body. Which system? Nervous system and the hormonal system, or we can call it as an endocrine system, or even it is known as a glandular system. So these two particular systems, that is nervous and the endocrine, they together help the higher organisms, the animals, and especially we are studying about the human beings right now. So these are the important ways, or these are the two systems which are helping in conducting these basic processes in our body. Now we had studied about the nervous system, that how it helps in the generation of electric impulse and is helping in transmitting the message from the organs to the brain, and then brain to the different target organs. Now further we studied about the hormonal system. We studied that there are different type of glands, so we are calling it better as a the hormonal system, which is functioning by secreting several chemical messengers. And of course these chemicals are of different kind and they are having different target site also. So depending upon the proximity of these target tissues for the chemical messengers, from what? From the site of its secretion, they are further classified into various types like autocrine, paracrine, exocrine and the endocrine. And then after studying about these basic types of glands, we switched over to the another system which we call as the endocrine system. And this endocrine system is the one which is comprised of the glands that secretes hormones. And these hormones are transported, or they are transferred to the target site through the blood. Right? So these are known as the ductless glands. And these ductless glands are the topic which we are discussing since previous two sessions. So let us further continue with this particular system, and we'll just revise the various previous glands we had studied, and then we'll continue with the further next type. So the endocrine system is comprised of different type of glands which are secreting different hormones and are located at different locations in our body, as we can see in the diagram. So the basic different types are what? The hypothalamus, pineal body or the pineal gland, and the pituitary gland. They are located in the brain, right, towards the interior side of this brain, and they are actually controlling various types of functions. And hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, it is known as what? The master gland of the body. Why so? Because it is secreting its own particular secretions which are having a specific function, as well as they have the control over the function of the other glands also. They secrete the hormones which are controlling the functioning of these different type of glands also. And this is the reason why it is known as the master gland. And this hypothalamus, it is controlling the function of the pituitary gland. After that we studied about the parathyroid glands, thyroid glands and the thymus. What these glands, where these are located? In the middle part of your body. They are actually in the neck region or in the thoracic region, right? Then further, the liver, it is not an endocrine gland. It is an exocrine gland. Then we studied about the adrenal gland. And we studied that how we are able to behave towards the different situations, whether it is joyful or it is sorrowful. So in each condition our expressions are different, our responses are different. So these type of responses, like when you are excited, you're jumping. When you are so angry, then you may do anything. Like if you're so angry, you may shout loudly over someone, or you can just punch over something. So all those responses are actually under the control of the secretions of these adrenal gland. And of course, these particular hormones which are controlling such type of behavior, they are further under the control of the pituitary gland, right? So basically, whatever secretion is coming into the blood, it is secreted in a controlled manner, and that control is maintained by these master bodies. So now in today's session, we are going to continue with the further different types of glands which are present in a human body. Well, another gland that we are going to study today is pancreas. These pancreas, they are a group of cells, or the other glands, which are located towards the left side of your abdominal cavity. Below or behind, we can say, the stomach, or towards the left side of the duodenum. You remember what is duodenum? Duodenum, it is the first part of the small intestine, somewhat S-shaped structure, a tubular S-shaped structure, and towards the left side of this S-shaped structure, there is a position for these specific glands. Now these glands, they are having a dual nature. That means they can behave as exocrine gland as well as they can function as an endocrine gland. You remember what you mean by exocrine and the endocrine? Exocrine are those particular glands which are secreting their particular messenger or these chemicals, and they are transporting it to the target site through the duct. They are not simply releasing it out in the surrounding, then further they are not diffused out to particular site. They are targeted to a particular site through a particular tubular structure which is known as a duct. So this duct is a very small tube. So can you just think now how it can behave as an exocrine gland? These exocrine glands, they are actually they are connected to small intestine. That means the target for the secretion of these glands is the small intestine. Now this duct is just connecting the two structures. Now it is not only connecting the pancreas. The duct is not a connection between the pancreas and the small intestine, but it is also connected with the liver. And this is the reason why the liver is also shown in the previous diagram. So liver and pancreas, they both secrete out their material or their juices, and then they transport it to the small intestine. Which part of small intestine? That is duodenum. So duodenum is receiving a common bile duct in this aspect. Now the point is, what material is secreted by the exocrine part of the pancreas? So these exocrine glands, they are secreting out several enzymes which we commonly call as pancreatic enzymes. These pancreatic enzymes, they are helping in the digestion. Now this digestion function is actually, it is quite understood point that of course if the particular exocrine gland or the pancreas is connected with the alimentary canal or the small intestine, then alimentary canal is having, or it is a digestive system, so the function that should that is controlled by these enzymes should be digestion. But these enzymes are of different kinds. There are different enzymes like trypsin. If you remember, we had already studied about this particular thing, right? They are secreting the particular enzyme known as trypsin. This trypsin, how is it functioning? It is transported to the duodenum where it is acting upon the proteins. Not exactly only the proteins, but the digested protein coming from the stomach. Now the partially digested protein, that means it can be peptone also. isn't it? And even if protein is not digested completely, the remaining part of protein would be digested further in the duodenum by the enzyme trypsin. So the trypsin enzyme is one of the secretion of the pancreas. Actually, pancreas, it is secreting the juice which is containing this particular trypsin enzyme. Not only this, the another enzyme present here is pancreatic amylase. Now it is quite important to call it as pancreatic, or to highlight this word pancreatic, because amylase is also secreted by the saliva. So although amylase is received into the alimentary canal from two different sites, but here this pancreatic amylase is coming from the pancreas and is helping in the digestion of starch, that is carbohydrates. The another enzyme which is secreted is the lipase, and this lipase help in the digestion of lipid molecules. So this is how these particular enzymes, they are secreted by the exocrine part of the pancreas, and they are transported into the alimentary canal through a common bile duct. And thus we call this gland as an exocrine gland. But within the pancreas there is a group of cells which is known as endocrine glands. Now this particular group of cells, that is endocrine part, it is transporting the material, or they are transporting their secretion to the target site via blood. So the material or the substances, or actually we can call it as hormone. It is hormone which is secreted by the endocrine gland. So the endocrine gland, or this particular part of pancreas, is secreting the hormone which is transported to the target site via blood. So these particular group of cells in the endocrine glands which are secreting the hormones, they are known as islet of Langerhans. And of course, as we said, they are secreting different kind of hormones, so they are comprised of different types of cells. So in short, we can say the endocrine part of pancreas is what? It is islet of Langerhans. And which different type of cells are there? There are two type of different cells. They are the alpha cells and the beta cells. Now these alpha cells and beta cells, they are secreting out different type of hormones. We say that these endocrine glands, they are secreting hormones. Hormones, it itself says that there is more than one type of hormone, isn't it? So which it is? It is the alpha, it is secreting the hormone called as the insulin. What we said? Yeah, sorry. Insulin and the glucagon. So these are the two hormones which are secreted by these alpha and the beta cells of the islet of Langerhans, and these cells are termed, or they are under the category of endocrine glands. Now these together, these two particular hormones, they are antagonistic to each other. You know what we mean by antagonistic? That means they are having the opposite function to each other. But before explaining that opposite function, initially you must know what is the basic function of it, isn't it? So they are having a function, they are helping in the regulation of glucose metabolism. Now if glucose metabolism is concerned, then it is clear that the level of glucose in our blood is maintained by the hormones insulin and the glucagon. Now these particular hormones, how they are regulating it, and as we said, they are having opposite function to each other. Then basically this insulin, it helps in increasing the level of glucose in our blood, whereas glucagon, it helps in decreasing the level of blood glucose. So you can see that they are having opposite nature of each other, opposite function to as compared to each other. One is increasing the amount, the another is decreasing it, isn't it? So it is very clear that at the time they both cannot function in our body. They are secreted in the body, not together, but as per requirement. If the level of glucose has to be increased, that means we need more amount of insulin, then what thing would be required? We need the insulin. And if we have enough glucose level in our body, more than required amount, then it has to brought down, and that is the function of the glucagon. So insulin is basically increasing. It is increasing the amount of glucose synthesized in the body. And or we can say, if there is low glucose, then how it can be increased? Either it has to be consumed from outside, or this insulin should accelerate a particular reaction so as to increase the amount of glucose. What is the storage form of glucose in our body? It is glycogen. So this insulin will help in the conversion of glycogen into the glucose. So this is how it is helping in increasing the amount of glucose in our body. And oppositely, if there is enough amount of glucose in the blood, it has to brought down. It has to be stored in the body. And what is the storage form? As we had just said, it is glycogen. So this conversion of glucose to glycogen, that will be accelerated, or that will be catalyzed by the hormone glucagon. So this glucagon, on one side, it is increasing the stored amount of this glucose, that is the glycogen. On the other hand, it is decreasing the level of glucose in our body. And this is how we can say that together they are helping in the regulation of glucose metabolism. Whether glucose has to be converted into the stored form, or it has to be used up for the purpose of energy. So in either case, or whatever is the condition, depending upon our body's requirement, we are going to secrete the hormone, that is insulin or glucagon, either of it at a time, and thus we are able to maintain the level of glucose in the blood. So this is how this pancreas can serve as an exocrine gland as well as the endocrine gland. Now the next gland is gonads. Now these gonads, they are different. They are of different types. It can be male or it can be female. Now as it is clear that it is associated with the sexual parts, then it must be located in the separate body. They are different, like pancreas, they were also having dual function, and they were of different type but within the same body. Now in this case, the differentiation is not on the basis of its endocrine or exocrine nature. There are two types of gonads, and each is serving as an endocrine gland. In the case of male, the gonad is a testes, right? And in the case of female, it is ovary. So these gonads, they are present in male as well as in a female, but they both are of different kind in each individual. So male, they are having a pair of testes. Where this testes is located? It is located in the scrotum. You know very well what this part is, isn't it? It is an external sac-like structure inside which the testes is present. Why we are calling it as an external part? It is because it is situated outside the abdominal cavity. And why? Why it is located outside the body? Because the reason is testes is involved in the production of the sperms, and sperms cannot tolerate the body temperature. They can survive at a temperature which is somewhat lower than that of a normal body temperature. So this is why the testes is located outside. Now the point is, fine, it is present in a pair, but what type of secretion is it giving us? What is secreted out which is helping in the control and coordination or the maintenance of a living system? So basically this testes is involved in the secretion of a hormone called as the testosterone. This testosterone is also known as a secondary sex hormone or a male hormone. Secondary male hormone. Why this secondary word is used here? Because the testosterone is associated with the secondary growth of an individual. What do you mean by the growth? It is normal increase in size or in weight or in mass or whatever, isn't it? That is the increase which could be observed physically. Now all these things which we are saying is a primary growth. You can see that the infants, their children are born with the without the teeth. Then initially the teeth will grow, right? And after the age of around 12 years, this tooth set will be replaced by a new set. So this growing up of teeth, then replacement by another set of teeth, all this is a process of a growth. But later on, that is after this 12 years or somewhat, there is a generation of reproductive growth. We can say this is a phase when the secondary growth begins, or the reproductive part of the body starts to mature, or they begins to grow in another way, so as to support the process of reproduction. That means up to this age the sperm production is not taking place. It will be taking place after this particular age of 12 years or around 14 years. Now this particular secondary growth is a major function of the hormone testosterone. What characteristics include, or what type of growth will include this particular thing? The secondary growth can be observed in the form of development of facial hairs, the development of hairs on different body parts like the armpits or the chest or the genital area, isn't it? Or we can say there is the development of the chest. Then there is enough muscle development, muscular development. Then beside this there is a development of the reproductive parts of the body, the genital organ or the copulatory organ of the body. That is, the penis is it will be enlarged. It will be it is grown so that it can be erected. So all those type of associated growth characteristics are taking place due to the function of the hormone testosterone. Now these are the things which we are observing physically. Besides this, there is another thing which is actually controlled by the testosterone, and that is the formation of sperms. There are the specific cells inside the testes which are able to secrete they are able to produce the sperms, and that is actually initiated by, or it is activated by, the hormone testes. So the hormone testosterone, which is of course secreted by the testes. So this is how this testes or testosterone is supporting the secondary growth in a male organism. Now in the case of female, the gonad is what? Ovary. Now even this ovary is present as a pair. There is a pair of ovaries present in a female organism. Now where is it located? It is located in the lower abdomen. The female reproductive system is comprised of various parts. You remember, like the vagina, then the cervix, then upside there is the uterus, and as we go towards more upside, there is a generation, or there is a bifurcation of uterus into two tubes. That is fallopian tube, which is in connection with the, which is associated with the ovaries. Now how they are associated here? It is due to the because they are able to receive the secretion of the ovaries. Now let us find out what this ovary is secreting, which is actually further received by the fallopian tube. So these ovary, they are located, they are attached to the muscular wall of the uterus, and then they are transporting, or they are transferring their own material to the fallopian tube. Now these ovary, like testes in the male, they are involved in the secondary growth of male organism. So here these hormones which are produced by the ovary, they are supporting the growth in a female organism. Now not only the secondary growth, they are also further involved, or they are controlling or regulating the these reproductive cycles of this organism. So what type of different hormones are produced? Let us find it out now. So the basic these hormones secreted by the ovary is an estrogen, progesterone and relaxin. Now these hormones, they are actually secreted at the different phase, at the different time of a female. I mean the different series of functions are taking place inside a female organism, and each require different type of hormone for its own function. And to control those, or to regulate those type of functions accordingly, different hormones would be secreted at different time. And of course they are functioning in a coordinated manner, therefore a female organism is able to reproduce. Now what these type of functions are, let us find it out. So these estrogen and progesterone, they are basically controlling the secondary growth of a female. Now what this secondary growth is? Secondary growth, as we had already seen in the case of male, some similar features and some different features are developing in a female also. For example, there is a regulation, or there is a growth of these sex organs. Like what? Like the development of the mammary glands, like the development of the breast, enlargement of the breast size, then development of hair in different regions. As we have seen the same thing in the male also, but comparatively the density, or we can say the hairs growing in different parts is quite different as compared to the male. In this case there is no development of facial, there is a limited development of the facial hairs, isn't it? So accordingly the hairs are developing in a face or in the limbs or in the genital area, under the arms, and all these particular areas. Now further, beside this, they are helping in the regulation of these accessory sex organs. And as they start regulating these particular accessory sex organs, then you know what is happening? They are able to help in the generation of the eggs. That means ovum are produced by the ovary under the influence of these particular hormones. And of course when the these eggs are generating, a female body is getting ready for the phase of the reproduction. That means to get pregnant. And how this pregnancy is established? It is because of the fusion of sperms and the ovum. But it is not happening every time, isn't it? So that regulation should be maintained. If the egg is getting fused, or it is getting fertilized, pregnancy would be established. If not, if the fertilization does not occur, the eggs has to be eliminated outside, isn't it? So this type of regulation of the generation of ovum, and then the release of the unfertilized egg from the body, this type of regulation is under the control of these particular hormones, that is estrogen and the progesterone. Estrogen will initiate, or it will activate the system so as to generate this ovum, whereas progesterone is going to help in establishing pregnancy or the development of uterus. You know, if a body is getting ready for the fertilization, sideways it has to get ready to hold that particular zygote and the fetus which is going to develop further. And for that, the extra deposition or thickening or those uterus development should take place sidewise, and that is the function of the progesterone. And if if it is not established, the pregnancy is not there, then of course it has to release out, and that is known as a menstrual flow. These extra muscles which are deposited, they will be released out along with the outflow of some blood and the unfertilized egg. and then after that again the same cycle will start under the influence of these estrogens and the progesterone. Now if a particular lady gets pregnant, at that time the ovum secretion is going to stop. Further, there will be more of progesterone rather the estrogen, and therefore no ovum is generated, and the pregnancy is maintained in such a way. And during this period, therefore the menstrual cycles are not going to take place. Now these are under the normal conditions. Now there is another hormone secreted by the ovary that is known as relaxin. Now this relaxin is actually required at the time of delivery of a child. This relaxin helps in the relaxation of pelvic muscles so that the fetus can be delivered out in a smooth manner. It can be supported by these particular muscles. So this is how these functions or these hormones, they are supporting the function of the ovary. So this is all about different type of endocrine glands which are present in a male and a female body, which are of course common in both, but except these gonads. And we can now see that how they are secreting the hormones and in a little quantity, and then these hormones are helping in the control and coordination processes. So further we will continue in the next session. In that we'll start with the control and coordination process in the plants. So thank you so much. Have a nice day. We'll catch you soon in the next session. Goodbye.